Hello, beautiful people. I am here today with a tutorial. I'm going to teach you how to make a pair of earrings. This is essentially the template we're going to be following today. This is one I already made, and we're going to make its sister. And have a really fun pair of earrings for you to make and do with what you will. This is the first tutorial I'm going to do of many designs. So, but we'll start with something a little unique, but also very easy to make. Um, so that is the design we're going to make today. You're going to need a few things, not very many, just a few. You need two colors of quilling paper. Today I am going to be using like a burgundy color and a burnt orange color. Use whatever two you want. I suggest you use something contrasting. I'm going to be doing this design in 1/4 inch quilling paper, so 6 millimeter, but you could do it in whatever you want. You could do it in 5 millimeter paper, which is actually my personal favorite. I just have a lot of this on hand right now. But you could also do it in 3 millimeter or 1/8 inch, whatever you want. It's very easy. This is a very forgiving and very simple design. I am not going to be going over the way you quill. I'm not going to cover any of the shapes. So you do have to have some knowledge of how to make the basic shapes. If you don't, do a quick search. Maybe eventually I'll put a video up on my channel for that. But for today, you're going to have to kind of know how to at least make a teardrop shape. That's the only shape that we're really doing, and a closed coil. So if you want to grab two colors of paper, you're going to need some glue. I like mine in a needle tip bottle. Definitely going to need some scissors of some kind, whatever your preference is, and a quilling tool. And honestly, that's it. That's all we need for today. So go ahead and gather your supplies, and then we'll come back here and we'll work on the step one. Okay, so the way that I'm going to propose we do this project is a little backwards from how if I was teaching it in a class. But the purpose of these tutorials and what I am showing you is all of my designs, all of my earring designs at least, fall under an angel policy. You can find that policy in the description below. But what that means is you can take any of the designs that I teach on this channel, you can make them, and you can use them for your own business. You can sell them at a craft fair, you can sell them online, you can sell them in small batch. You just can't, like, pay people to make them for you and then mass market them. But for your own little small business, you can recreate these and do with them what you will. So with that in mind, and as a quilling business owner myself, I'm going to just make the assumption that some people are going to be making multiple pairs of these at a time so that they can sell them at a craft boutique or whatever. With that in mind, I am going to kind of propose that we work this earring backwards so that some of the parts that need to dry a little longer have time to dry, so that you can make the earring a bit quicker than you would. So the way that I am going to propose that we start is we're going to actually make the stem first, and then we're going to make the base. This way, because part of the stem needs to dry before we wrap it, we can set that aside. That can be drying while we work on this base, which is a little bit more time consuming, and then we can go back and assemble it. That's how I think that we should do it. So with that being said, I'm going to take my interior color, which this time is my brighter color. I'm going to just take one strip of this. You're going to need about 4 or 5 strips per color, just depending on some choices you make. This is an exact design, so you can, definitely make some choices here. So we're going to be making first the stem of this earring, and the length of that is completely up to you. I very much like a big earring. Other people don't, they want something smaller. So you could go from a half an inch up to an inch. I have already cut this because I've already made its pair. So I don't know. That's probably like 3/4 of an inch is what I chose. So the first thing you're going to do is take some glue. Once you have, so cut two that are the exact same size. So you've got one for now and one for the other pair. We're just going to glue along the entire face of this piece, okay? And then take your strip of paper and just press it over the top. So we're kind of laminating it, right? So I don't know if you can, well, it's not going to autofocus because I turned the autofocus off. So, okay. So now that you have one, we're going to do that again, just on that inch. Or whatever length you have. And then very carefully at that crease, it's kind of hard for me to see right here. There you go. I'm going to fold that piece of paper over. We're just sandwiching it, right? So now I've got 3 layers. I'm doing a total of 7 layers of the internal core. So 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. There you go. Now you're just going to snip that off. Now we have that. We do want that to dry straight. So just kind of set that aside for a second. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is cut a piece that's approximately 2 inches. This is going to be the center. Oops, let me move that down. This is going to be the center, and then you need another one that's the same length. This is not though. So let me cut one that's the same length. So I just like to kind of match that up. Right. Okay, now they're the same length, right? And we're going to roll these into a closed coil. So just roll that first one up. What I like to do is hold it in place like this. When I'm about 1/4 inch from the end, I add in the next color and keep rolling it. Alternatively, you could glue that first one down and glue on the next one, the next strip, and then continue rolling. However you prefer to do it, it's fine. I usually try to do the thing that's just the quickest. All right, so then we have this, right? Okay. So now, when you look at the stem, one end is going to be rounded because it's wrapped in paper, and the other end will have an exposed edge. The one that has the exposed edge, I'm going to put a strip of glue along it like that. And then where the seam is, oops, I'm gonna just lay that right on top. Okay, like that. And now this we're gonna just set aside to dry. We need this to dry on here really well before we do the wrapping of it. So we'll do that as like nearly the last step. Okay, so we'll set that aside and we'll move on to the base. Okay, so to assemble the main attraction of the earring, let's say, we need a total of 11 teardrop shapes. So I'm using 17-inch paper, and for my own ease, I am going to divide each of these strips into 4 sections, which is about 4¼ inches each. Now you can do these whatever size you want though. And if you don't have 17-inch paper, then, you know, I'd probably go with like 4-inch approximately. I don't know how much that is in centimeters, but about 4-inch strips will be fine. You know, this isn't brain surgery, it's art. So do whatever you want. Play around with it. Try all different kinds of shapes. Come up with something new. It'll be great. Okay. And then you're just going to need approximately 1 strip of your contrasting color for outlining per earring. So, because remember, you're going to have to make 2 of these. I'm just going to show you 1 though. So, okay. We're just going to roll this up. I like to do a little tight roll at the end, but not so hard that I'm like breaking my tool or ripping out the center, but just a little squeeze there. And I'm going to roll that or take that off, add a little glue to the end, turn it into a teardrop. I think I called this a marquee earlier. It's a teardrop shape though, folks. It's a teardrop. Okay, so then when you have this, you're just going to put glue on one side, on the flat side. I do not bother doing it on the round part at the bottom. Doesn't need it. And when you do that, it seems to kind of like the glue will squeeze out the sides and it makes it look terrible. It's honestly, it's just not necessary. Okay. And then I'm going to do it again on the other side. Now, I'm not very precious about what it's like at the top either. Do what you want. You could, if you were so inclined, you could wrap this twice if you wanted it to look like super polished. I personally don't do that, but you do whatever you want. So this is what we're going for. You're going for the bright color on the inside and the contrasting color on the outside, right? So let's make 11 of these and then we'll assemble the smoke show. Okay? Sounds good. All right, here we go. I've got my 11 pieces done. I've moved the camera up a little, so hopefully you can see this a little bit better. And now we're going to assemble the base of our earring to look similar to this. It doesn't have to be exactly like it, but you know, close enough. So we're going to start with the first 2. I like to pay attention to the direction in which the inside coils are going. For this earring in particular, I like the 2 center pieces to have the direction of the coils facing each other. Alternatively, you could do the other. Alternatively, you could not care. It doesn't matter. It will still look amazing if you don't care. I just like to pay attention to those little kind of details. The more tedious a project is, or the more finicky, this is going to kind of go against what other things I say, but the more tedious it is, the more I enjoy it. The more particular it is, maybe. But then I also do everything the easy way if I can. So those two things are not completely congruent, but it is my truth. So anyway, so I'm going to have this next one on the right, also facing this direction. And then when I start to do this side, I'm going to have them facing the opposite direction. They're just kind of cohesive a little bit. So this top layer, I'm just putting the lightest amount of glue, as I'm sure you can see. And then I just am lining up the top. Now at the top, there's going to be a little divot in it. And that's okay, because that's where our stem is going to go. So don't worry about that. It's not going to be perfectly pointed at the top. You don't want it to be. You want that little divot. It's going to be a channel in which our stem can like fit in there very nicely and become snug. Okay, so I've got those three. Now I'm going to do the other side. Actually, I have 4 already on here. Line up my... All right, and add one more. All right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Do I somehow have... I feel like I have extra of these. I do. You only need a total of 11, but I accidentally made 12, so I guess I have a bonus one for nothing. Okay. So there you go. That's base 1. Total of 6 on the top. Now we're going to do the next layer. They're going to go in between each of the spaces. So I like to put a strip of glue on either side. Now you can have these going the same way. I think though, let's see what I did on the other one. I had it going the opposite way. That's not going to work for the center one. You just got to pick a direction, but I'm confusing myself. Yeah. Squeeze that in there. 2 more. Yeah. All right. There you go. Easy peasy. You've got the base and an extra. So that is lovely. Set that aside, and then we're going to bring back our stem, and let me grab our paper and we'll do that stuff. Okay, so this is the second to the last step / the last step. We're going to just wrap this. Now, I like to, whenever I can, not every earring can I do this, but on most earrings, it can be done in some way or another. I like to, after I add the little piece that the earring wire is going to go through, I like to wrap it with at least one layer of paper. I have had the experience where these come off. It is just paper. So even though I seal everything with enamel, I'm a very tight roller. I use a lot of glue. I take every effort to make my pieces solid and strong. Um, stuff happens. So I just like to take this one extra step to ensure that they're going to last for whoever buys my earrings. So how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to, on this orange part here, put a layer of glue. I'm not going to put any on the coil, just on the stem. And then I'm going to line up this strip, the exterior color, right, down here. And then I'm going to use my nail, but if you don't have a nail, you can use some kind of a needle tool, the edges of your scissors, anything sharp, just to kind of crease it right where that seam meets. There you go. Just make sure it's nice and secure. And then we're going to put glue on the other side. Like that. And then I'm going to tightly pull this around that coil. And using my nail again, or whatever object you have, crease the paper right in that seam. And just cut off that extra. Okay, so there you go. So that's really going to secure that. Okay, so now on your base, which should be pretty dry now, right where all of those pieces come together, I'm just going to add quite a bit of glue. I like to put a strip down the center because this is a little, let me bring this back into, this is a little thicker. I feel like you can put a little on on either side, each side. And then we're going to just put that right in the middle, like that. And I kind of pinch the sides together to make sure we're getting glue on either side. And I'm going to just set that side. I'm not doing very good about keeping everything in frame. Okay, this is video 1, y'all, so we'll get better. Okay, there you go. And that's essentially it. I'll bring this one down here so we can, this is the dry one. All right, so now these need to dry for a little bit. Not a long bit, but an hour maybe before you go and seal it. So let's talk about sealers. I'll do a video on sealers at some point, but these are made of paper. Do not just put earring wires on these and then go sell them. I have always coated my earrings with enamel. I've been quilling for 17 years and have been making earrings for essentially as long, and I've used enamel that entire time. I love it. I don't think there's anything better than it, for a multitude of reasons, but I used to paint it on. I buy huge bottles of like clear nail polish essentially, and I would paint them on, and it just took forever. But the thing that I love about enamel is it's thin enough that when it goes on the paper, it actually soaks into the paper and it hardens it from the inside out. You can get a UV resistant enamel. It's great. So my new go-to thing, the thing that I use now, and I highly recommend it, is Krylon makes a spray enamel, and it's fantastic stuff, and it's way cheaper. You do have to do it outdoors. Wear a respirator if you are so inclined. Don't do it on a windy day. But I lay them down and I spray them from every direction. Let it all dry, flip them over, do the other side. You can do it once or twice, just depending on the earring. But, you'll have to play around with it and get good with it. So I'm going to let these dry, and then I'm going to go seal them. And then I'll come back and show you how to put in the earring wires, and then that's it, and we'll be done. Okay, so here we go. I've sprayed them. They've been sealed. They've dried, and I brought them back in with a bunch of other pair that I have to get ready for the market that I'm doing tomorrow. So let's put some hardware on these babies. The first thing I do is just with a piercing tool. You can use anything, I guess. I just sort of clear out the center channel from our closed coil at the top. And then the way that I'm going to do this is people who actually make jewelry yell at me about in comments quite a bit, but this is the only way that I have figured out how to make it work for these earrings. I get that this is not the way that you attach earring fixtures to other jewelry, but this is how I have to do it for at least this size paper. I actually don't have to do this for if I'm using like 3mm paper, but for the 6mm, this is what I have found out. Okay, so I believe these are 7mm jump rings. I've got earring wires here. Now they come round, but I need it to be this shape. So like an open oval, if you can kind of see that. Okay, so the way that I do that, so I have this tool. I don't even know the names of these tools, so someone can tell me. These like needle nose, but they're like round. I don't know. Came in a kit. I open it like this, pretty far and wide, so it's pretty blasted open. And then I turn both of the ends in. Okay, so that's how I get that shape. Now, what I do, if you can think of a better way, then do it a different way. Do it however you want, whatever is easiest for you. My way is not the be all end all, for sure. This is just how I do it, and I'm just passing it along. So then I stick one end in, and then the other, and if you can manage it, I sort of pinch it a little bit, but these jump rings are super heavy duty, so I find that kind of difficult. So then I have this other tool that I also don't know the name of, and then I just kind of crimp it without getting that caught. So it's like that, and then voila, you have an earring. So I'll do this other one as well. See, that's like pretty difficult to do. With your fingers without you totally twisting the paper and stuff. As long as you can kind of get both sides in there before you do the squeezing part. You just have to be kind of gentle. You don't want to. There you go. Okay. There we go. there you have it. Clear out all this case. All right. Design number 1. Quilling paper earring tutorial. So there you go. I'm not going to name any of these designs. I have too many of them that I want to share with you. And I'm hoping that it will get you guys creating and spark your curiosity and get you designing things of your own as well. But you're welcome to use these designs, like I said, any way that you want to. Make sure you read the angel policy before you do so, though, so you know all the ins and outs of it. And otherwise, happy creating. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll be back with another one real soon. Bye!